When the millionaire screamed at his secretary, you won't believe her shocking response at 3 a.m. It was a night like no other in the glitzy Manhattan offices of Harrison Company, the lights flickering above like a warning sign. Just minutes before, the air was electrified with the rising tension. The clock struck 3, echoing through the cavernous space, a chilling reminder that secrets often thrive in the darkness. That in the heart of the pulsating city, billionaire Craig Harrison had reached his breaking point. His face twisted in fury, veins bulging, a tempest of raw emotions. The walls echoed with the force of his scream as he slammed his fist onto the polished oak desk. "You've ruined everything." The reverberations shook papers from their neat stacks, sending them swirling into an abyss of chaos. But it wasn't just the furious outburst that sent shivers down the spine of those nearby. It was the terror cascading from his secretary, Mia. Her eyes widened, reflecting the glint of the moonlight filtering through the high-rise windows. She felt a tightness in her chest, a lump in her throat that threatened to choke her as she stood frozen, absorbing his words like a punch to the gut. What could she possibly say to calm this raging storm? The whispers amongst the staff were palpable. This wasn't the first time Craig had erupted. And there were rumors, dark whispers that lingered like smoke, hinting at secrets buried deep within the company's glossy facade. "Face it, Mia. You're the reason our project fell apart. You think this is all a game?" His voice sliced through the air, a razor-sharp edge that drew blood without ever touching skin. A collective gasp echoed from just outside the conference room, eyes wide and mouths agape, the shock palpable. They were all drawn into the moment, witnessing this unscripted drama unfold like a slow-motion train wreck. But just when it seemed Mia would crumble in the face of his wrath, an unexpected glimmer of resolve flared in her eyes. "I'm not going to take your blame," she declared, her voice steadier than she felt, shaking off the tremor in her hands. It was a moment so shocking it silenced the entire room. Was this the same timid assistant who always followed orders? The ripple of disbelief washed over everyone like a wave crashing against a cliff. Now, let me pause here for a moment. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the tension hung heavy in the air, thick enough to slice with a knife, the office's silence was broken by an unexpected sound, a single finger tapping on the desk, steady and sure, as if counting down to something monumental. Everyone held their breath, knowing that whatever came next would break the boundaries they had set. Mia leaned closer, a fierce determination igniting within her. The truth deserves a voice, so let us talk about the real issues here. What storm would her response unleash? A chilling wind rushed through the open window, carrying an ominous promise of change with it. Would she reveal what she knew, that behind the glitz and glamour lay corruption so deep it could threaten everything? As eyes darted between them, the stakes had never been higher. In the game of secrets, alliances could turn in an instant, and the real danger was just beginning to unfold. Mia took a deep breath, the air thick with tension. She could feel the sweat beading at her temples, but she wouldn't let Craig see her panic. "Not now. Craig," she began, her voice unwavering despite the chaos swirling around them. "You need to listen to me. There's more at stake than just this project." Her words sliced through the awkward silence, wise enough to summon the curiosity of the onlookers and as bold as a lioness' roar. Craig's face paled, the fury still evident in his clenched jaw, but something else flickered in his eyes: fear. Could this little secretary possess the power to dismantle his empire? The murmurs around the room grew louder, a chorus of whispers intertwining with disbelief and intrigue. "What could you possibly know?" he sneered, though the challenge held more hesitance than he intended. Mia's heart raced. She had to reveal the truth, but how much could she say without plunging them both into the abyss? "I know about the documents," she said, her voice gaining strength. "The ones you didn't want anyone to find. The ones that prove you've been." Suddenly, the lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness for a heartbeat. Gasps echoed, drowning in darkness, creating a moment of collective fear. Then, just as quickly, the lights resumed their hum, casting an eerie glow over the tense figures scattered around the room. It felt like the world was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable. "Prove it," Craig spat, regaining composure quicker than most. The fear had shifted back to anger, and his hand moved instinctively toward the drawer where he kept his loaded gun, a reminder of the lengths he would go to protect his secrets. Mia met his gaze, unwavering. "You know as well as I do that the documents are more than just paperwork. They detail illegal contracts, under-the-table deals, things that could send you to prison." Each word felt like a dagger, piercing through the carefully constructed facade of the man who had once seemed untouchable. The low murmurs amongst the staff grew frantic. Could they be overhearing such dangerous truths? Eyes darted to the door, weighing their loyalties. This was a turning point, and a drop of sweat slipped down Mia's back. "I'm standing here at the edge of everything. You think they're going to believe you over me?" Craig pulled back slightly, his demeanor shifting. A hint of desperation seeped into his bravado, a crack in the armor that had shielded him for so long. "Do you have any idea what I'm capable of?" "Oh, we all know," someone from the back muttered, voice trembling. "We hear the whispers." There was no running now, the door was locked, and the whispers would have consequences. Mia stepped closer, locking eyes with Craig, willing herself not to back down. "You might have the money and the authority, but I have the truth. And the truth can dismantle your empire. I'm not scared of you." The silence was deafening, the world outside continuing unaware of the storm brewing within the walls of Harrison Company. "Not scared?" he repeated, a twisted half-smile revealing the rage behind his calm facade. "Then you're willing to face the repercussions?" The realization of what was being challenged loomed heavy. With her heart pounding violently, Mia understood that she stood on the brink of a dangerous precipice. The stakes escalated. This was no longer just about a project, it was a battle for survival. As she prepared for the storm of fallout that would inevitably follow, what she didn't see was a shadow slipping through the door, ears attuned to their confrontation, a hidden ally or enemy ready to tip the scales further. What had she unleashed? And who was watching from the shadows? The room felt like it was about to implode. Mia's breaths came quick and shallow as tension hung between her and Craig like a loaded gun. She could sense the crowd's gaze piercing through her, some wide-eyed with fear, others shrouded in a trembling curiosity. Would they side with her or would they cling to the monster in the room? "Repercussions," she echoed, trying to inject a new strength into her voice. "Is that all you have left? Threats?" The sharpness in her words hung heavy, and Craig's expression twisted tighter. Beneath the fury lay something darker. This man was no mere villain, he was backed into a corner, and desperation often leads to reckless actions. "You know what they say about cornered animals, Mia," he replied, a calmness that sent chills down her spine. "They fight dirty." At that moment, the shadow at the door lurked menacingly, unseen by Mia, who was laser-focused on Craig. The atmosphere shifted again, thickening as if the air were imbued with electricity. Someone was watching. "Enough of this," Craig suddenly declared, his voice booming, ricocheting around the room. "You all want to know what is going on. You think you can unseat me with nothing more than hearsay?" Mia's heart raced, a cold panic clenching her throat. She knew she had to act quickly. The clock was ticking, and every second could mean the difference between being believed or silenced forever. She gestured toward the group, her fingers trembling but determined. "These people deserve to know the truth. You can't hide forever, Craig. We all have the right to live without fear of your tyranny." Murmurs spread through the crowd, amplifying her courage. "You think threats will keep us silent?" Someone from the back called out, emboldened by Mia's defiance. "We need to stand for what's right." Craig's eyes flared with rage as they darted around, searching for allies among the staff. As much as he craved control, he was losing it fast. "You think you can bring me down with your little uprising?" he shouted, trying to seize command. But the weakness was already showing, his voice wavered. "This isn't just about you and me anymore," Mia pressed on, her voice gaining a rhythm that felt almost rhythmic, resonating not just with her but with the hearts of those gathered. "It's about everyone you've trampled, everyone you've silenced. We have the right to fight back." Suddenly, the office door swung open with a loud bang, startling everyone. A tall man in an expensive suit stepped in, his eyes bright with a confidence that felt misplaced given the tension. "What's all this ruckus about?" he asked, feigning ignorance, but Mia noticed the way his eyes darted from her to Craig, taking stock of the situation. "David." Craig fumed, his face turning a shade of crimson. "Get out. This doesn't concern you." But David held his ground, crossing his arms, unfazed. "Actually, it does. You've crossed a line." Mia could hardly believe it. Another ally? Or was he there for Craig, ready to shield him from the fallout? "Stand down, Mia," Craig hissed, venom dripping from every word. "Perhaps you've gotten a bit too bold for your own good." Her resolve wavered briefly under his glare, but she pushed it down. "You may think you have all the power, but the truth doesn't belong to you. It belongs to everyone you've hurt." The room gasped, the weight of her words settling heavily. "Is that so?" Craig's voice took on a chilling calmness that made her skin crawl. "Then we should find out what consequences really look like, shouldn't we?" The threat lingered in the air like a ticking bomb, and Mia could feel a storm coming. The shadows at the door shifted again, and suddenly all eyes were on an unexpected figure stepping into the light, a familiar face that now held a knife's edge in its gaze. What had she unleashed? The true battle was just beginning, and something told Mia that this was going to get much worse before it ever got better. The tension in the room was palpable. Mia felt her heart stop as the familiar face stepped forward, a ghost from her past, Sarah. Once a close friend, now an enigma wrapped in bitterness. Mia's breath hitched as Sarah's electric blue eyes bore into her, and an unsettling smile crept across her face. "Didn't he think you'd have the guts to confront him like this?" Sarah said, her voice laced with intrigue. The crowd's murmurs stilled. Everyone unsure of what to expect next. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" Mia asked, the question trembling on her lips. Fear mingled with confusion as she analyzed Sarah's expression. There was a gleam of something in her eyes. Triumph? Revenge? "Oh, Sarah replied with a casual shrug, just paying attention to the drama. "I didn't want to miss the show." She glanced at Craig, her smile transforming into something sharper. "And it looks like you all have quite the spectacle unfolding." Mia shifted nervously. "This isn't a game, Sarah. People's lives are at stake." The crowd behind her echoed her sentiment, a restless wave of uncertainty sweeping over them. What a noble sentiment. But isn't that the beauty of it? Sarah chuckled darkly, crossing her arms. People are always getting trampled. Some just don't realize they're next in line. Craig's eyes flicked between the two women, confusion wrinkling his brow. "What's your point, Sarah? This isn't about you." "Oh, but it is, Craig," she purred, taking a step closer, her high heels clicking against the floor. "You see, I know all your secrets. The things you think you can hide from the world." The crowd gasped collectively, each person absorbing her words, realizing the potential chaos in what she was suggesting. Mia's heart raced. This was a dangerous game, and the stakes were getting higher by the second. "You won't help him, will you? You can't back down now," she pleaded, clutching at the edges of bravery. Sarah turned back to Mia, her expression shifting from playful to something colder, more calculating. "You think I'm here to rescue you? Think again. I'm here to watch you implode." A wave of anger surged through Mia. "Why would you do this? All those years we were friends. The past doesn't matter anymore, Mia. You were always in my shadow, Sarah retorted, dismissively waving her hand. Now, I want to see how high your moral pedestal can rise before it tumbles beneath you. The pressure in the air intensified as Craig regained his composure. Enough of this, he shouted. You'll all regret this little outburst. David, he called out, his voice laced with urgency, handle it. David, who had been observing quietly, straightened. Craig, I think it's time we reconsider who's in charge here. Maybe it's better to let the truth out instead of trying to bury it. The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, ushering in an unexpected shift in the room. A sudden flash of movement caught Mia's eye. The figure in the doorway, someone she hadn't even noticed before, was slipping further inside. The light flickered, and in that brief moment, Mia thought she saw something gleam in the newcomer's hand. A weapon. The realization hit her like a punch, and panic surged through her. Get down! Mia shouted instinctively, pushing Sarah out of the way, as chaos erupted. Hands flew into the air, screams pierced the tense silence, and she could hardly breathe. The fight was no longer between just her and Craig. Someone else was in control now. What had started as a confrontation had turned into something much more dangerous. As uncertainty flooded the room and the true nature of the threat revealed itself, Mia's mind raced. Was she stepping into a trap set by Sarah? Had she just brought the walls crashing down on all of them? In that moment, Mia couldn't help but wonder, who would emerge as the victor of this nightmarish showdown? The answer was still shrouded in darkness, and Mia felt the cold grip of fear tightening around her heart, wondering who, if anyone, would survive. But beneath the chaos, a flicker of hope sparked in her mind. Maybe, just maybe, she could turn the tide in her favor, if she acted fast. Would she be able to rally the crowd and turn them into an army of defiance, or would fear continue to grip them all? As uncertainty loomed and the approaching shadows grew closer, Mia braced herself for the battle ahead, knowing that just one more wrong move could lead to their destruction. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Mia pushed Sarah away just as a loud bang shattered the air, echoing off the walls. The newcomer, cloaked in gray, stepped fully into the dim light, gripping a gun that seemed too powerful for the mess unfolding. The stunned crowd fell back, creating a gap, their instincts about survival kicking in, leaving Craig isolated among bewildered onlookers. Mia's heart raced. Every instinct screamed at her to do something, anything. In that electrifying moment, clarity cut through the chaos. The figure wasn't here by chance, they were here with purpose. Craig, she shouted, her voice strong in the face of fear. You need to get everyone out. Craig, still frozen in shock, blinked rapidly as if trying to absorb the situation. What do you mean? You think this is happening because of me? His voice trembled. Yes. Mia fired back, pointing at the gunman. You need to take charge, don't let this spiral out. Sarah, ever the opportunist, chuckled under her breath. Look at you, Mia, acting all brave. It's almost cute. There was an undercurrent of disdain, a reminder of their past friendship and its bitterness. And that only fueled Mia's fury. You must think you're so clever, Sarah. But you're just another pawn in this game. The man with the gun shifted, his gaze darting around the room, assessing. Everyone stay calm, he barked. His voice was deep and menacing, tightening the atmosphere. This is no time for heroics. Mia found her resolve hardening with the growing danger. We can talk this out. You don't need to do this. She pleaded, hoping to stall him as panic washed over the crowd. You don't understand. He shouted back, his grip on the gun tightening. You think your lives matter. You don't know what's at stake. The crowd gasped, eyes widening in fear at the indifference he showed toward their lives. Then enlighten us. David shouted boldly, stepping forward. What's your endgame? Is this about money? A grudge against Craig? More than that, the gunman sneered, a disturbing gleam in his eye. This is personal. The tension in the air thickened, every conversation silenced under the weight of his reveal. Mia felt the pulse of dread. Whatever vendetta he had, it was twisted and terrifying. She could see the crowd starting to waver, fear overwhelming any sense of solidarity. Mia grabbed David's arm, desperation sparking her mind. If we can distract him, we need a plan. Now. David hissed back, concern etched across his face. Look, Mia had an idea, but it came with a deep risk. If I can keep him talking, maybe you can find a way to get behind him. The group exchanged glances, weighing the danger of action against the certain threat of their current situation. But time was running out, and the man's anger was escalating. Enough of this. You think it's a game? I'm not here to talk. He raised the weapon, pointing it at the ceiling with a violent intent. What do you want? Mia cried, her voice cracking slightly. What do you hope to gain from this? Everything. He shouted, and in that moment, Mia wasn't sure if it was a cry of anguish or a declaration of war. Panic surged through her. She glanced at Sarah, who stood aloof, a sly smile creeping back onto her lips. This was more than she bargained for. It was an opportunity for Sarah to turn bloodshed into entertainment. Help us, please. A shaky voice broke through the crowd. Betray me? Sarah mockingly chuckled. Oh, I'll be watching this unfold. Sarah. Mia yelled, this isn't your show. We need to stop this madness before. But she never got to finish her sentence. The man's eyes shifted violently, locking onto Mia's, full of wrath and chaos. He took a step toward her. I'll show you what madness really is. In that charged moment, Mia felt time stretch. The crowd held its breath, waiting, and she knew their fate hinged on her next words. Wait. She yelled, scrambling to find the courage. You said it was personal. But would her plea be enough to buy time, or only stir the beast further? As she watched the horror unfold in the eyes of her friends, Mia could only wonder, had she just sealed their fate with her words, or was there still a chance to turn the tide against the approaching storm? Consider this a moment to really listen, the gunman replied, his voice low but laced with an underlying rage. The gun hovered in the air between them, a bridge built on tension. Everything you've built, Craig. His eyes darted past Mia, locking onto Craig. Everything you take for granted. It ends today. Confusion flickered on Craig's face, his shock morphing into something deeper, something like realization. What do you mean? He stammered, but dread swallowed his voice. Mia could see the gunman's finger twitching on the trigger. Don't play dumb. He shouted, the gun lifting slightly, a menacing warning echoing across the room. You avoided me like I was a bad piece of news. Now I'm here to remind you of the mess you made. The crowd shuffled nervously, some taking a reluctant step back. Panic flared again as murmurs rose. It's all spiraling out of control, Mia thought. Everyone thought I would fade away into nothing, he continued, his tone dramatic, voice rising. Just the loser left behind once you stole everything I worked for. But you should have known people like me don't disappear. They come back. Craig took a small step forward, eyes wide. You're threatening innocent people for what? Recognition? Innocent? The gunman scoffed, eyes flashing. You think innocent people exist in your world? You don't know how it feels to stand in the shadows while you take everything from me. Time stretched, the room held in a fragile balance, the tension like a coiled spring, ready to snap. Mia's hands trembled. She had to act. Please. We can help you help. He laughed bitterly, and it echoed with pain. Your help is worth nothing. I want you to feel what I felt. I want to take everything away from you, just like you did to me. He suddenly pointed the gun toward the people in the back. One move, and I won't hesitate. Mia's heart raced. She didn't know how to calm him down, how to trigger that last sliver of empathy that might still be hiding deep down inside. This isn't the way. You're hurting the wrong people. We can find another solution. We can work this out. Work it out. He laughed again, a sound so devoid of joy that Mia's skin crawled. No more talking, lady. You don't understand. It's too late. At that moment, she locked eyes with Sarah, not with joy, but with a plea. A pact made in horror echoed between them, or perhaps a shared revelation of their past betrayal. Perhaps there was a way to unite their chaos against the man wielding the gun. But Sarah's posture remained unchanged, watching with a twisted fascination. Craig! Mia shouted, you have to, but fear and anger coursed through the gunman, interrupting her words. You're all just a part of a game to me now. A game I'll win. Suddenly, a hand shot up from the crowd, a voice quivering but loud. Stop. Just stop. It was a woman, her face pale, yet burning with bravery. Put the gun down and we can talk this out. You're not a monster, you can still choose. Mia held her breath, praying the woman could pierce the shell of rage surrounding him. For a brief second, a flicker of something resembling doubt crossed the gunman's face. But then, the moment shattered as he roared, no one can save you. He swung the weapon back, pointed at the woman now, ready to pull the trigger. Mia screamed, no. But it was too late. Time slowed. She felt every heartbeat, every desperate breath as the world contracted into a single moment of horror. The crowd gasped as hope flickered. Mia lunged forward, a churning mix of courage and instinct overtaking her. I'm not afraid of you. She yelled, pushing past the fear and doubt. You're not a god. You can still change. The man's arm wavered, confusion blending with rage. Then a shot rang out. Was it a warning shot, a glimmer of a chance to wake him from this madness, or had it ended their world as they knew it? In the lingering stillness that followed, the collective breath of the crowd waited for an answer. But as the dust began to settle, only one chilling question hung in the air: what would happen next? The shot pierced through the air like a knife, slicing away the fragile thread of hope that held the crowd together. Mia's heart thudded violently in her chest, a primal rhythm of fear and disbelief. Silence clung to the room, thick and suffocating. She felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, each one mirroring the terror that spiraled out of control. The gunman's expression morphed, his eyes flickering over the crowd with a wild blend of panic and adrenaline. He stepped back, the gun wavering in his grip. Who did that? He demanded fiercely, an accusation echoing off the walls. Who fired? I won't hesitate to pull the trigger again. The woman he had previously targeted sank to her knees, hands raised, her pale fingers shaking visibly. Please, just breathe. She exclaimed, her voice trembling and desperate. Craig made a tentative move forward, his gaze locked on the gunman. We can talk. Just put the gun down, let us fix this. You know you don't want to hurt anyone. Mia could barely hear him over the pounding in her ears. Fix this? You think there's anything left to fix? The gunman's laughter was deranged, twisted. You think this is just about me and you? This is about the chaos you created. The lives destroyed because of your greed. Mia's stomach turned at the realization, they hadn't just hurt him, they had shattered his world. The room inhaled deeply, caught between a fight or flight instinct. An invisible line had been drawn, and they were all teetering on the edge. Just stop, Mia found herself saying, the words spilling out before she could think. This isn't the way. Can't you see you'll only hurt yourself by doing this? Just take a breath with us. He hesitated, the wildness in his eyes giving way to uncertainty. But then, breaking the moment's delicate balance, a man from the crowd shouted, no. You need to be stopped. The gunman turned toward the voice, fury reigniting in him. Shut up. He screamed, aiming the weapon towards the man now. No. Mia interjected, desperation clutching at her throat. She couldn't let this spiral. A shot fired again, but not from the gunman's weapon. A dark figure emerged from the corner of the room, gun blazing. A sharp cry pierced the chaos, followed by the sickening thud of a body hitting the floor. Mia's heart dropped. She felt a cold, hard shock cut through her. The gasps around her escalated into terrified screams. The gunman stumbled backward, his rage replaced by sheer terror. What the hell? He spat, staring wide-eyed at the fallen figure. Someone from the crowd, clutching their bleeding shoulder. The crowd erupted, panic unleashed like a wild beast. People dashed toward the exits, colliding and shoving, their collective terror spilling into chaos. Mia remained frozen, eyes wide, taking in the horror. Her world flipped upside down in an instant. Each face in the crowd wore a mask of fear, their lives hanging in the balance. "Help him!" she cried, pointing toward the injured man who lay on the floor. "Someone call 911. But the fear in the room swelled, creating an invisible wall against action. Instead, it enveloped them like a suffocating fog, the metallic scent of blood filling the air. Suddenly, the gunman gained his footing again. This time, it was not just despair and rage that twisted his face. It was something darker, a mix of vengeance and loss that twisted him into something almost monstrous. "You want to see chaos?" he shouted, voice breaking. "You haven't seen anything yet." He twisted, pointing his gun at Craig. "You made me this way. You're all responsible." At that moment, time seemed to stop again. The crowd held its breath, each person's fate suspended in uncertainty. Would he pull the trigger? Mia's throat tightened as she stepped closer, catching Craig's eye with a silent plea. But the gunman was no longer in control of his own mind. He pulled the trigger, but this time, it wasn't aimed at Craig, it was aimed at the ceiling, a deafening shot that sent dust and debris raining down. The sound of collapsing plaster echoed. The ceiling creaked ominously, as if the whole room threatened to give way beneath them. Mia's heart raced. "What's next?" she whispered, fear curling into her gut like a coiling snake. But the gunman's wild eyes scanned the room, filling with madness. "You thought this was just about me?" His twisted smile emerged again, revealing a revelation that shifted everything. In an instant, Mia understood, nowhere was safe. What did he plan to do next? Would the walls that had once been their sanctuary become their tomb? The room trembled under the weight of quiet chaos, shards of plaster glittering like stars in the dim light as they fluttered to the ground. Mia's pulse raced. She could feel the panic spreading, a fever that ignited the crowd into a frenzied rush toward the exits, but that was nothing compared to the seething madness in the gunman's eyes. That he was breathing heavily now, like a beast cornered. "You're afraid of me," he rasped, his gaze darting from face to face, searching for the boldness that had urged him into this moment. "But I'm not the monster here. This is just the beginning." Craig's voice cut through the din, thick with urgency. "Stop this. You don't need to do any more harm. We can talk, just talk." But the gunman recoiled as if Craig's words were physical blows. The laughter that bubbled up was jagged, dark. "Talk? You think we can talk our way out of this? You've silenced me for too long, and now it's my turn." Mia could see the desperation written across Craig's face. He was still trying to reason with a man who had crossed an unseen line. He could only hope there was still a glimmer of humanity left in him. In the distance, sirens wailed, a distant echo of hope charged with urgency. Every second stretched into eternity. Then, as if reading her thoughts, the gunman spun around, his eyes wild. "You hear that? The sirens? They think they can save you, but they're too late. You're already mine." He lifted the gun, pointing it randomly at the crowd, gesturing wildly. Each twitch sent shock waves through the hearts of those standing, a symphony of fear seeping through the air. "Let them in!" Mia shouted, her voice rising above the chaos, enveloping everything with desperate conviction. "You can still stop this. You're stronger than your fear, show them that." For a brief moment, silence fell like a fragile cloak. The gunman blinked, his rage faltering as curiosity crept in. The tension shifted, a magnetic pull drawing all of them together in that fleeting moment. Would he, then? The silence shattered as the voice of a woman pierced through again. Don't let him take control. We can reason with him. Her hands were raised, palms out, pleading. Suddenly, a crash echoed from the side of the room. Another figure, a security guard, stood resolute, trying to block the oncoming wave of terror that threatened to swallow everything. Get down! He shouted. That was it, the gunman's eyes widened, and he shifted his aim. But Mia reacted faster, throwing herself forward. No! The crowd recoiled as the guard surged, the gunman losing his balance as fear reeled through him, but that moment of distraction was all Mia needed. She lunged for the barrel of the gun, desperation and courage igniting in her heart. Just as she made contact, the gun went off again. The harsh crack filled the room, and for one agonizing moment, Mia's world teetered on the brink of oblivion. The bullet grazed her arm, a raw, searing pain that lit her nerves on fire. She gasped, stumbling back, but it wasn't over. The gunman was unhinged now, the mask of anguish had slipped, replaced by something altogether more sinister. Mia could only stare, bewildered by her own blood dripping down her arm, mingling with the shouts and screams that followed. Chaos swirled around her as the gunman fixed his eyes on her. See? He screamed, voice trembling. This is how it feels when they take something from you. I'll make you all feel it. A primal instinct kicked in again, she had to act fast. Adrenaline coursed through her veins as she gritted her teeth, propelling herself back toward him, driven by the sheer need to reclaim control before darkness engulfed them all. Wait! She cried, holding her hand up to stem both blood and madness. You don't want this. Remember who you were before this pain. Staring into the abyss of his rage, Mia realized that even now, a thread of connection still held. Would he listen? As if the world hung on her words, she felt the weight of every gaze piercing through her, every breath hitching on the precipice of hope. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she caught the glint of something metallic, a second weapon, hidden away, directly behind the gunman. And she understood that this dance on the edge of chaos had only just begun. What would happen if he pulled the trigger again? Would this truly be the end? Mia took a breath, steeling herself for the unknown. She had to defuse this, or everything they held sacred would be obliterated in a heartbeat. Would courage be enough to save them this time? Mia's heart hammered as she fought through the agonizing pain, adrenaline drowning out the chaos around her. The gunman's eyes darted between her and the second weapon, and she could feel the tension coiling tighter, ready to snap. Every fiber in her being urged her forward, but she had to play this carefully. One wrong move could ignite a volcano of violence. Think! She shouted, her voice barely above a whisper now, strained and quivering. Why did you come here? What do you want? His breath hitched, and for a split second, the walls of anger cracked. I want them to see me. To feel my rage. The crowd was frozen, breaths held. Did he want compassion or recognition? Was this just a spectacle for him? Mia clenched her fist, wrapping her fingers around the pain in her arm, feeling the warmth of her blood seep through her clothing. Then let them see. Let them know you're more than just this monster. She urged, her own conviction shining through the shadows of despair. This can end differently. You can choose to be different. As she spoke, a flicker of uncertainty shadowed his face. The gun wavered in his grip, just for a moment. Mia felt the weight of every person in the room, their fear, their hope like an electric current coursing through her veins. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about everyone trapped in this nightmare. Shut up! He barked, his voice a mix of fear and anger as he pointed the weapon directly at her. But Mia didn't flinch. She took a step closer, each movement deliberate, conscious. Please, don't you want to be seen as someone who fights for life instead of destruction? In the distance, sirens grew louder, harmonizing with the unfurling tension. The gunman's grip tightened, not just on the trigger but also on the reality they were living. Craig called out again, his voice breaking through the haze, "You're not alone. We can all fight together instead of fighting each other." "No." The gunman roared, veins pumping with tremors of fury. "No one ever fights for me." Then, like a dam bursting, his emotions flooded through him. The gun slipped for just a moment, and Mia seized it. She dove for the ground, wrestling to take control, but he yanked back, the barrel aimed dangerously close to her face, trembling with rage. "Don't you touch my gun!" he screamed, wild eyes glazing over. The crowd gasped, backs pressing against the walls, a living tidal wave of fear. "Stop!" Mia shouted, the words breaking from her as if they were part of an ancient chant. "Look at what you're doing. This isn't you." He faltered, eyes narrow, searching for a way out of his own spiraling madness. Mia's breath caught, a bead of sweat trickling down her temple. Would it be enough to take hold of the only thing left, his humanity? Then came the sound of shattering glass from somewhere beyond the door. The echo sent shockwaves jolting through the room, awakening the primal instinct for survival in everyone. More of them. The gunman rasped, his ego shattering along with the glass. "I'm not ready. Help me." In that moment of vulnerability, fear cracked through the bravado he had held onto for so long. Was he asking for a lifeline? Mia could hardly breathe. "You can choose how this ends. It doesn't have to be a fight." But right then, she saw the second weapon shift from the gunman's side, his body rigid as if he hadn't realized it was there. The sheer terror of that possibility made her stomach drop. What would happen when he saw it? Would desperation reclaim him? Would it trigger the final act of madness? In the fleeting silence, a question hung in the air, heavier than lead. Would they live to see another dawn, or was the night about to claim them all? The moment of choice loomed, a decision teetering on a knife's edge. Who would emerge from the shadows of darkness? A shudder surged through the room as the gunman's eyes glazed over, caught in the turmoil of his choices. Mia fought against the rising tide of fear, desperate to find a way to reach him. "Listen to me," she cried, her voice piercing through the chaos. "You can either end lives here tonight or you can choose to walk away from this. You're not just a monster." The gunman flinched at her words, the trembling weapon weaving a path through uncertainty. "You don't know anything about me," he shouted, breath coming in ragged gasps. Yet there was a flicker of doubt creeping into the venom of his declaration. "Then show me." Mia stepped forward, the distance closing between them, unaware of the seconds ticking away like sand through fingers. "Show us who you really are. You can be more than just this moment, you can be your own hero. Let us help you." Behind her, the murmurs of the crowd grew quieter, each breath held firmly in the grasp of a shared hope. She felt the warmth of support pressing behind her, the quiet strength of solidarity pulsing through the room. For a moment, the gunman faltered, and in that split second of hesitation, a distant siren wailed, reverberating through the walls. Reality surged back into focus. The weight of his actions hung heavily in the air, thickening with every heartbeat. Could he really turn back, even now? No. He screamed, his voice spiraling through the remnants of his resolve, panic clawing at his thoughts. "I won't be ignored. No one cares." In that desperate cry, Mia heard the echoes of his pain, the chaos of a fractured past. "We can prove we care," she implored, her voice firm yet grounded. "You don't have to walk this path alone. Let us in." But his hands twitched, the threat still present. "I won't go back to being unseen." Then, like a dam breaking, memory flooded his face, images of a past life, a family, dreams lost to the shadows of betrayal. Suddenly, he lowered the gun slightly, the tension shifting, the crack of humanity breaking through the darkness. "I'm tired of fighting," his voice cracked, vulnerability weaving through the anger. "I just wanted to be heard." "Then let us hear you," Craig said, stepping closer, his voice steady, no longer the arrogant billionaire but a fellow man, a distressed soul looking for a window to connect. In a fragile heartbeat, the air thrummed with the possibility of resolution. Mia leaned closer, channeling every ounce of her determination. Life is made of moments like these, choices that define who we are. You can choose courage instead of despair. The gunman stood suspended between two worlds, the one he built on anger and this flickering light of hope. He hesitated, the gun wavering, and for the first time, the fear in his eyes melted, replaced with contemplation. "Let us talk," he finally said, resolve blurring with sincerity. "But I want to be heard." Mia nodded, relief flooding through her. The tension felt like the beginnings of something new, a chance to bridge the gap. "We're all here. We'll listen." In the distance, the voices of the crowd murmured their understanding. People didn't want chaos, they craved connection. They were tired of fighting. Reflecting a powerful shift, the gun slipped fully from his grip, falling to the ground with a heavy thud, perhaps a symbol of his own burdens finally released. Just then, the security team burst into the room, rifles raised but paused at the sight before them. The gunman, exposed and vulnerable, stared back at them, his body language shifting, his anger dissipated. The quiet strength of Mia's call to humanity rippled through the gathering, a safe harbor amidst the storm. A woman stepped forward from the security team, eyeing the gunman cautiously. "Are you okay?" I think so," he stammered, slipping into the reality of clarity. It felt like a fog lifting, revealing a fragile hope beneath the remnants of rage. With trembling hands and the reassurance of those around him, the gunman took a step backward, surrendering not just the gun but the harrowing weight of his vengeful intentions. Beneath the surface, the crowd breathed in unison. The tension unraveling, and moments of silent reflection turned into tentative words of support. The healing had begun. As evening faded into the dawn of a new understanding, Mia breathed deeply, feeling the residual warmth of humanity kindling around them. Not just for herself or the gunman, but for everyone involved. Moments later, anguish transformed into relief, disbelief to shared connection. They were more than players caught in a game, they were stories waiting to be told, history rewritten in the glow of newfound empathy. "Tonight," Mia said, her voice steady, "we all get the chance to start anew." As the sirens faded into the background, hope fluttered like a bird released from its cage, filling the space with an electrifying possibility. Maybe, just maybe, they had all discovered a way to rise from the darkness into a brighter future, and that, above everything else, felt like a miracle. Now that you've witnessed the thrilling conclusion, make sure you act. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support for the channel. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Your input matters. And for the love of storytelling, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. This is the moment to join the community that celebrates the power of story.